point?
Look, I think it's a terrific question, and there's no doubt the 17th Amendment came out of the Progressive era, and it was one of the most significant amendments to the Constitution that altered the balance of powers between the states and the federal government. And in particular, along with the 16th Amendment, the 16th Amendment allowed the creation of the personal income tax. The 17th Amendment, along with the 16th Amendment, presaged the incredible collection of power and spending in Washington. Because as long as senators were elected by state legislatures, they had a direct check not to come and steal power from the states. Once it was put to direct election, they were much more ready to come and steal power from the states. I think that's absolutely right. I think it was unfortunate that we went down that road. I don't think there is a realistic prospect for repealing the 17th Amendment. As a practical matter, to repeal any constitutional amendment, you need the approval of 3/4 of the states, and people don't tend to like to vote for giving up their suffrage. So in terms of fights, my views, look, I'm not interested in going to the Senate and giving lots and lots of speeches that are really cathartic and feel really good and accomplish nothing. I think the stakes are too grave. We are bankrupting our country. And what we need to do is go and every day materially move the ball towards freedom and limited government. So, for example, I think there's a potential for significant constitutional amendments, the most important of which is a strong balanced budget amendment, which I think would have three elements. Number one, it would require a balanced budget. Number two, it would require a supermajority to raise taxes so that it wouldn't just become an excuse for politicians to raise our taxes. And number three, it would cap federal spending at a percentage of GDP. Now, I think there is a popular wave that we can get a strong amendment passed. We're not there yet, but I think after 2012, I hope and believe we may be. That's an amendment which would have a dramatic effect limiting the power and authority of the federal government. It's one we can get passed. And so my view is we should focus our energies where it'll have the greatest impact. And I think a strong balanced budget amendment is far more likely to get passed and would do much more good than it is likely to repeal the 17th Amendment.
Thanks, sir.
We can, let's just take one more question because you've got to run. So.
I was just going to ask, I hear a lot of politicians, kind of two-part question. One, I hear a lot of politicians and candidates saying how they want to cut spending and stuff like that. What I don't hear a lot of is eliminating departments, like the Department of Education in particular, and other things. And one, would you be willing to fight for something like that? And also, I believe I already know the answer, but I want everybody else to know the answer. Your position on abortion and marriage and marriage amendment and all that.
Sure. All right, let's take them one at a time. On spending, yes, yes, and yes, all of the above. Look, 40 cents of every dollar the federal government spends on borrowing. We are bankrupting our country. You want to ask why I'm running? My wife Heidi and I have two little girls, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. In 20 years, I don't want to look my daughters in the eyes and tell them they've inherited a country that is bankrupt, that is crushed with crippling debt because their parents and grandparents, we were too irresponsible to live within our means. We spent everything we had and everything they would ever have. That's the level of the crisis. How do we do it? We do it with everything. Eliminating departments? Absolutely. I would eliminate the Department of Education. Education is far too important for it to be governed by a bunch of bureaucrats in Washington. We need to get back to local control in the community where parents can have a direct impact on what's being taught to their kids. I would eliminate the Department of Commerce. I would eliminate the Department of Energy, which seems consistently to fight energy rather than actually to try to open up any new energy. I would eliminate the National Endowment of the Arts. I think the arts are wonderful, and if you support them, you ought to write a check. But we have no business having unelected bureaucrats spending taxpayer money to support the arts they like. And the agency I most want to eliminate is the IRS. Through fundamental tax reform, moving towards a low uniform rate that applies to everyone, ideally a flat tax or even better, the fair tax. And I intend to lead the fight on tax reform. Tax reform touches back to the question you asked about complexity. Do you know that right now there are more words in the IRS code than there are in the Bible?